All right, welcome back. We're back for the last little bit here, the last hour. All right, so you'll settle into the boat after your adventures in Nangalore. The gnomes seem to have departed for a little bit, but they're already back themselves. You're not sure how far they went, what they were up to, anything like that. They maybe got some shots of the local area with some of the recording equipment before coming back to the boat to rest themselves. They'll actually be enjoying a meal up top with Scrog rather than grabbing up some of the local cuisine, seemingly testing out what Scrog can make. You'll eventually all settle into your small bed areas. Even in this more civilized areas, you're still grateful for your bug nettings that you managed to buy because it is still insect rich. The entire area just feels of like bugs, and you can see them on the nettings, like trying to break into you, trying to get into you, trying to kind of just crawl into you, like all the mosquitoes and other like larger insects, and like one of you will see like a large spider crawling up it.
Oh no.
Some kind of hunting spider, like taking out some of the insects that are on there.
Get those other bugs.
Mm-hmm. Then of course there might be like a centipede crawling around somewhere. It's the jungle. It's not friendly. It's
Centipedes.
It's
Back bad memories.
It's life rich. Life rich. So the evening will pass without difficulty, and you'll all wake up in the morning and the ship will not have departed yet. It seems the captain isn't back yet. Scrog will basically do some work around the boat and also have like a basically prepared breakfast that seems to be of again some kind of like grilled fish. Like every meal seems to have grilled fish for him. This time with like some kind of like grilled flatbread that he made out of like some stuff he picked up, you know. So it's basically like you have effectively like fish tacos for breakfast and then like a fish stew for dinner, and maybe like, you know, just some grilled fish for lunch, just simple like tiny fish that have been grilled they kind of gives out.
It's better than nothing.
It's true. Eventually, though, after about an hour of kind of like eating, the captain will return, and the boat will depart and begin to continue its journey south of Nangalore. It's about another day's journey before you reach Lake Luau. The area here seems again rich with life. About by like a little into the afternoon, you'll actually hit into an area that seems to be like of a little less jungly and more some like a mixture of like patches of jungle and like open and like some like field areas that seem to be like in kind of this hillish region before passing into like the river passing through a very swampy region. In here, you'll see actually like a number of small settlements along the river that seem to be of lizard folk. There seems to be swampy regions that kind of be good to inside. And eventually, though, when evening time is getting around that time, the river itself will start to emerge into the lake proper. So it'll kind of begin to widen very rapidly. The captain at this time will actually, a little earlier than normal, kind of dock the ship nearby to a small village of lizard folk. Of course, Scrog will come to all of you and be like, Captain says it's safer to dock here, close to locals who we know, rather than try to find a place along the lake's edge. Should take us most of a day to cross the lake. If we go straight across it, it should be fine. As you can see, there's some big trawlers looking for fish out there. Bastards. Trying to bring industry to jungle. Fools. I was looking to work cooking dinner.
I don't know why. It's just all like, I was just picturing like fools look out over the water and just see like something like swallow a boat hole or something.
I mean, that probably happens.
Probably.
They're probably
Probably
like
not in the lake. Even with like big boats, they might be too small for something that big.
there might be like a mosasaur or something, or a plesiosaur in here. Nessie might be in
Or
here.
maybe it just takes up the entire lake secretly.
Just
Like
like
is actually the mouth of a giant monster.
Exactly.
the world serpent lives here. Of course,
I'm going to observe the local lizard folk and see if I see any practices I would recognize.
there's similarities between the way that your tribe did things, of course. You can see how, like, the territory, the swampland, is very different here. Mm-hmm. This feels more like a mangrove swamp. So it has like very like tall, like kind of like the mangrove trees, and then like open areas of like kind of very thick grass around. And they seem to have like made some homes in like this area with like bridges between a number of these large mangroves, kind of like almost like little tree houses.
Yeah.
With almost like little like temporary buildings on what looks to be patted down grass. Which, if you observe it for a while, you notice that the grass actually is a floating pile. So it looks like they like took it like a mat of almost grass and made it just to be floating on the thing, and then built these almost temporary buildings on it. Probably like using just some like floating grass from the area. Probably something that has to be refreshed occasionally. You know, it's why the building it seems temporary. But they're storing like fishing equipment and boats on it. You know, things like that. They seem to keep a number of, like, large lizards, a couple crocodilians as, like, kind of pets. There does seem to be some kind of, one large sauropod that seems to be, like, a swamp-dwelling sauropod that seems to be sort of in the back. That you can see seems to carry some kind of, like... Think of those structures that were on the back of the giant elephants in, like, Lord of the Rings. Except this one's probably made for more, like, transporting materials, like, across parts of the swamp or something. You know... There's, of course, like a little area that looks to be a smokehouse for smoking fish and stuff. It seems most of their diet is fish, with a couple of hunters coming back with large mammalian creatures or reptilian creatures that they've been hunting for food. So they kind of mix the two of them. There does seem to be like a small actual... the small pits of actual dirt do seem to have small gardens on them. Mostly of what looks to be some kinds of like herbs and stuff and like little flowers. You're guessing probably it's more medicinal than practical for that.
Yeah. Medicinal rather than like vegetables.
There's probably a few like kind of vegetables that are for like, you know, balancing the diet a little bit for stuff that they might not get from all their meats that are growing there. Mm. But you can tell that the rest of it is mostly like medicinal type stuff. I kind of always imagined your swamp to be a little bit more like Louisiana bayou-y. This is definitely like, you know...
I think it was even less that. I think it was more like forest with like wet forest rather than like a...
Yeah, it could be just like
from the area I was
marshy
from.
forest.
It wasn't quite...
Yeah. I know of some marshlands in like... Virginia or something. Yeah, like there's some marshlands in Virginia or something. Where it's like this mixture of forest and marshlands a lot more. Probably like a lot less, like maybe like flat marshland or something. A lot less trees and stuff. This would definitely be like a, as I said, like it's got spots of trees that seem to like form around the river's edge, and then like large patches of grass. So like if you ever imagine like those... If they ever show you those, like, some of those, like, a mixture of, like, mangrove forests, which are usually more shoreline, but there's, like, a type of, like, you know, I guess, like, swamp mangrove or something. And then, like, also, those, like, big patches you ever see in the Amazon where, like, you know, snakes are hiding under them or something. Like, there's an anaconda under here. Look at this thing. You know?
Yeah.
That kind of is like a mixture of those two things. Yeah, they seem to just be kind of ignoring all of you, going about their business. They seem to be setting up, they have like a, on one of the bits of land, they have what looks to be like a communal fire area where they can kind of set up, where people will cook stuff for the tribe for the day. It looks to be about maybe like, 50 individuals here. So, a decent-sized tribe, lizard folk-wise, but not like a massive amount of people overall. The evening time will pass nicely. You'll enjoy your fish stew again. Scrog will probably trade some things with some of the locals. He'll bring some of his catch in turn for some of like the plants, because, you know, it's the same thing. It's like some of the medicinal plants also make very good spices and stuff, and a few like things that they might have gathered. They probably have their own like there probably is like a common like grass or something that's used for breads and stuff in the area. I have no idea what it'd be. But it's something like akin to like, you know, like a cornmeal that you can get that he will pick up some extra of. And he'll actually make like a dumpling soup today.
Ooh.
That rather than like he'll like ball it up, because and throw it in there along with some kind of like weird twisted looking like tuber that'll like cut up and throw in there. It's a good feast tonight. Best one we'll have in a while. The captain will even join you. Normally he doesn't eat with you, but you'll kind of like see like the bowl of like stuff kind of like disappear up into the tendrils, and you hear this and the bowl will be empty and kind of come out.
The worst.
It's like, you don't know where the mouth is in there. You only see like, you know, tentacles. So it's just like...
You can hear noises.
Yeah. Oh, Chules. You're just, they're interesting. But soon afterwards, though, things will settle down for another evening. Actually, about this time, Felongar will actually come up to you and be like, "Oh, as we've seen, we've been doing some kind of like documentation of our trip. We were wondering, since you are on the boat with us, if you wouldn't mind at least getting a base interview. I know your friend, was it Zalheek?
Zalhi. Yeah.
Zalhi. Yes, I'm sure, since he doesn't speak a language we translate very easily, we could have an interview, but I don't know about interviewing giant undead snakes. But if any of the rest of you would be interested in being in the documentary, if you wouldn't mind, since you are on the boat with us. We were planning on interviewing the Scrog and the captain himself, too.
I'm gonna heavily pass on that. I'm just not one for the camera, you know?
But we can be on TV.
But then everyone knows we were here.
You're right. But we can...
We just document us murdering a town.
That's just a coincidence. They don't have to show our snake friends.
I will pass as well. I do not care much for the... whatever it is you're doing.
Documentation! Yes.
I guess we can pass.
Okay, well, if you change your minds, I guess we'll have a few more. We'll have some more days that you can join us in the documentation. We'll go interview Mr. Scrog. They'll like actually then like post dinner they'll have like an interview with Scrog, asking him questions, of which about 50% he can answer to any like decent degree, and the other 50% he can be like, huh? As much as Grog seems smart, he is a troll still.
Oh.
He's just doing his best on you, man.
Yeah. Oh, good. I finally found I'm sorry, I went into the description of a chul. A horrible mix of crustacean, insect, and serpent.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
They sound delightful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, their tentacles are paralytic, so be careful of those. He uses them for everything. He doesn't leave any slime around, though, or anything like that. No, you know, it's just like they secrete something that's a little paralytic. It dries, and it's not a problem.
Yeah, I ain't touching anything.
You're not taking over if something happens for, like, the ship. You're like, ooh, controls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to be
His
fair, he
friend
probably
can do
probably
that.
steers with his claws. Just presses buttons with his tentacles.
Can't press any buttons from him.
Yeah, he's got his giant lobster claws that he can steer with.
Yep.
So anyway, you'll kind of like sit back and kind of like listen to the interview, and you'll notice that every time they kind of shoot footage in the evening, they're working on like actually editing things down and working on it. They have like an editing bay. There seems to be one person. They have their crew seems to consist of a producer, sound person, camera person, an editor, the director, someone that seems to be like have technical know-how to work on all the gear, and a person that seems to be in charge of making sure that Felingar looks right for the camera. Mm-hmm.
They're very serious about it, clearly.
Yeah. The evening will, though, pass relatively uneventful once again. The lizard folk will have, their fire into the night and have, like, a small kind of celebration or something, some kind of ritual at least. The interview will go for a while. And pretty late at night, most of the gnomes will kind of settle down and kind of allow things to quiet down enough for you to settle down. The noises have definitely changed in this area. It's like when you switched from the like very powerful jungle to the swamp, it's very interesting to see how the noises have just kind of changed very rapidly. The next morning, though, of course, you will once again depart and switch and continue heading southeast across Lake Luau. You can see that there is definitely a lot more boats on the lake. I call it like Luo. God, I'm calling it Luau.
We're having another luau.
You could. You can see, like, that the kind of fish they're bringing out are very, like, large, hardy fish. Like, the river itself doesn't seem to, like, once you kind of pass into the center of the river, things kind of, like, change a little bit. Like, you don't see small fishing vessels. You see these larger fishing vessels that seem to be bringing in, like, large prey. Some of them, a couple seem to be, like, people that are hunting, like, some of the large things that actually, like, patrol the lake and then maybe, like, get things at the shorelines. The deep parts of the lake just seem pretty empty.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. The water itself seems, like, very warm in this area, too. You will see, like, an interview, Felingar Fellingar will actually have like a little documentary in the center which you can pick up some information about. He'll be like, Lake Luau, a lake which for a long period of time was known for not supporting much life at all, until a particular resistant strains of fish were introduced to Chult some years ago. The large-scale predators that oftentimes patrolled the rivers themselves found themselves able to move in, as they were resistant to the alkali nature that seems to be coming in the water from the volcanic vents which warm the lake itself. The small tributaries that move in to continue to feed this volcanic lake from many of the mountains and regions arrive tend to be the most fresh water before they arrive. And the natural swampland and marshland that we previously showed you when we entered this area acts as an interesting filter, removing most of the alkali materials before it heads into the river Oolong and heads downriver. It's interesting to see how the combination of intelligent races has made this lake a place that supports life, one that for many generations did not. Of course, there's a lot of arguments that go to play for the introduction of new species to the area, as some of the new species have moved into some of the rivers nearby and have threatened it. But heavily alkali-resistant species was needed to create a kind of living space for many here. That's why some of you can see that now settlements pop up along the lake. Of course, special filters are required by those that live around here, save for those that live in the marshlands. The native later folks that we just had visited, who tend to have a resistance to the alkaline material, the nature of the water itself, themselves, seemingly adapted to it through their generations. Amazing that Lake Luau here is a sign of changes and interesting dynamics. Perhaps if we get a chance, we'll be able to meet with some of the native locals who have been here for much longer. There's a group of tribal Nephits, which naturally appeared here, and have a small settlement. I don't know if we'll have a chance to pass by it on our boat tour here, but if we do, we'll say hi. This river's quite interesting, is it not? This lake here. You can smell the volcanic materials in the air. It smells kind of an interesting mineraliness to it. It's interesting that invasive species research kind of appears here at most places. When 1,000 years ago, some of the locals managed to find a number of species of fish that survived here, and then introduced them. Things have seemingly changed a lot in this region since then. Off record, do you have any stances on invasive species? With world travel as it is, things seem to get around.
You know, survival of the fittest and all that. If you can't run something off, it's no one's fault but your own. Wow, Thursey's an asshole.
Base of what now?
Uh-huh. That seems about right.
Hey, I'm listening to documentaries, I understand.
I keep this. This is bad today for the cough. Let's hope I keep up with it. Interesting. So you kind of just let things as it is, like a global community, even though biodiversity has been kind of shrinking in many areas of the world because of it.
You know. What can you do about it, really?
It's an interesting concept to say. Interesting. I would love to have a discussion with you about how you look at these things, just as a reflection on the various regions. What do you think about the chimera invasion of Osu. When a number of chimera riders introduced their breeds in there, and then apparently they tried to make a farm, and the farm fell apart, and over 100 chimeras got loose and now have become a large-scale invasive species in Os.
I'm just like thinking, like, how are there even invasive species in D&D when there are things that just kill things to kill things?
Also, why do you want to breed chimeras?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone had a great idea
Ow.
to go to Coral's version of Australia and breed chimeras.
Actually, that's
For
a
what?
good point. That's also a good point, though, because technically invasive species were already a thing, like, back in the days. I mean, owl bears are technically an invasive created species.
Yeah. That's probably
Anyway.
like creation of like breeds like owlbears probably outlawed.
They're adorable. I love them.
Owlbears
are pretty great.
Yes, I need an owlbear.
Owlbear is the traditional D&D monster. But also, you have to remember Owlbear's, Owlbear's slogan,
Yeah, they were like,
I should not be.
Yeah.
I should. Oh.
Because it is like a magic creation. Someone was just like, what happens when I combine this owl with a bear? They basically teleportation experimented and created the fly, except it's an owl and a bear together.
Oh.
yeah. And then it got
I love
loose.
it though.
Well, they are adorable.
Yep.
They are adorable.
And they're pretty much an invasive species, which is why they're found all across the D&D multiverse.
Just also, if you can find it, the first edition appearance of an owlbear is so silly looking.
I think I have seen it before.
This is the one with the really big beak. Thing.
It's the one that looks like it would be on like one of those maps from like the medieval ages with sea serpents on it, and that would be one of like the mythical sea serpents.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
That is so
that's-
funny.
I love it.
Yep.
I think I'm looking at the right one. Just this.
Yeah. Yep, that's what I was looking at
Yeah, I
too.
just saw
So
that. Yeah.
funny.
It reminds me of like where the wild things are.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's I'm like. The thing is, this is supposed to be inspired by like what Gary Gygax and I forget the other guy buying a bunch of like Ultraman toys in the 70s and being like, these are our monsters. Yeah, that's apparently where a lot of the weird D&D monsters comes from. Ultraman. Thank you, Ultraman.
I need
You
a
can
character that just has an owl bear as a pet. That's
Oh my
really
gosh,
my
I could
favorite
totally see
character.
inspiration for things. I could totally see where a lot of this came from.
Yeah.
I need one of these.
I
Alright.
want one.
So, anyway, you'll continue your journey across Lake Luo, and it won't be a too difficult journey. You can, again, like, you can see that there are some settlements along the lake, here and there, that the place is settled to a degree. Is it settled a huge amount? No. Definitely, like, beyond the marshlands, there isn't a lot of actual, like, jungle directly near the lake. You can see that the marshlands have definitely begun to expand. Like, if I'm using the old map of Chult, the marshlands were accurate at that time. The marshlands have actually spread around most of the edges of Lake Luau now. Just with the nature of these plants, were like, they are good for filtering alkali out of water. They're good resistant to it, like the marsh plants that you kind of encountered. They could spread those areas. So a lot of the shoreline has, like, some of these, like, reeds and stuff. And beyond that, though, like, there's, like, definitely, if you would look to the south, you can see the peaks of flame in the distance, which are just, as there was then, they're active volcanoes. They never ended. The Valley of Embers is named that because it oftentimes has lava coming in that area. And burns. There are plenty of, like, trees and bushes now. It's probably been a little while since the last eruption. So there's, like, places that you can see plant life and stuff, and people have settled in. And, probably, like, the greenery has definitely expanded more to the north and west of Lake Luau in the last 2,000 years. Has taken over a lot more. But eventually you'll hit, like, the small kind of, rough, combination marsh and, like, a little less marshy, a little bit more groundy on the southwestern corner of it, kind of in that area. And you'll see there is a pretty decent, like, probably about half the size of the lake you were on now, or, I mean, river that you were on before, coming out of this area. This is the kind of river that you could see probably your boat couldn't turn around on. Your boat probably has to make it to that small lake, which is off of the river, in order to turn around, or another small kind of lake or tributary kind of thing. It's wide enough that probably a second vessel of its size could not pass by it. You definitely think you could, like, pass by the center of here pretty easily, but, like, if you had a second vessel, it's probably as wide as two of your vessels, but, you know, they'd both be, like, hitting the shore and, like, grounding at that point in time, kind of things. Scrog will, like, seemingly break out some tools and be like, just in case there's some new branches over it, we'll have to break them. Also, I might need some folks' help if some logs have fallen in the river that need to be cleared. That's what these are for. As he gets out, like, two, like, big, like, reaching pikes. And if all else fails, someone will need to dive in. You can see that this, like, water gets a little bit more murky. The lake was... None of the rivers here have been very, like, super clear, but the lake itself, just because of the nature of it, was relatively clear. The river was, like, kind of moving. It seems as though, like, this, at least, tributary that brings into Lake Luau, before moving into the River Oolong, is very kind of, like, dirty, mucky, you know. It brings down a lot of stuff. Probably from, that one active volcano, the westernmost active volcano in the Sky Lizard Mountains, which are to your west pretty well. You'll actually be kind of going around through the jungle that kind of skirts that volcano in the Sky Lizard Mountains.
I love that's called Sky Lizard Mountains.
Yes. They have a great naming sense for things around here.
Does it have actual flying sky lizards? Because I'm in.
Probably.
Judging that's why it's named. It could be because there's pterodactyls. It could be that...
Yeah, my first thought was pterodactyls.
That's probably it.
Also, could be red dragons.
Ooh.
Dragon. We can have a pet dragon.
We find some dragon eggs?
Hell yeah. Be like Harry Potter.
I don't think our landlords would appreciate dragons.
Hey,
They won't know. We're just bringing in a giant egg.
We could give it to Bob. He'd be like Hagrid, except murderous.
Yeah.
You know.
Less kind than Hagrid, but they probably like sweets as much.
Scrog will kind of move up. I don't know if any of you would want to stop, but we will be passing close to Hisari. I know that you three are looking for the yuan-ti of Tezdeko. Hisari is another old yuan-ti settlement, but never was reclaimed. Old rumors of curses. Give me a second here. I'm getting a phone.
Ooh.
What if we take the snake guy there instead? Because then, like, no one really goes over
Also
there, right?
getting a
It's
call.
cursed or something. Oh, snap. Everyone's getting a call.
nobody calls me.
Tears.
I would never pick up anyway. I don't like answering
Exactly.
the phone.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't get calls either, but then I also wouldn't pick them up either way. So
Okay, that was
Mine was
that was an
mine
actual
was a
relatively important call because my brother is pretty sick today. And so, like, my niece has an appointment, and he's like, I just got to my doctor's. I don't think I can take her to her appointment. Can you do it? So I think I've got to cancel Legacies of Kain, basically.
Oh well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just because, yeah, he was picking up her school, and, you know, gonna have to take her to an appointment. He's like, I can pick her up on the way back from my appointment, and then I'll come back here and you can take her to her appointment. And I'm like, okay. But we can.
My call was just a telemarketer.
Ah.
Ooh.
less important, but still a
Fair.
call.
Yep.
Look,
so
I like my I like my brother,
short tangent.
but I think that 50% of why he has some issues is his own fault because he has some bad habits, which I don't know, like, mess with, like, his like, he's got some things where he shouldn't be doing, like, you know, things like he shouldn't drink at all, I think, because of his medication, and he does a little bit, and I think combined with that and some, like, you know, weakened immune system from, like, all the years of smoking, at least he's quit that. Look, you know,
Yeah.
I love the guy, but I don't know how much of it is him actually getting sick and how much of it is his own fault, but I always think it's somewhere in between. So, anyway.
Probably. Short tangent on my end, though. Like, my phone company or whatever, Verizon, has, like, started doing this thing where it's like, it says potential spam call. So far, all the ones it has labeled potential spam call have been important calls, and it hasn't labeled a single spam call potential spam.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say they were labeling their own calls as spam calls, because that would have
That'd
been
be kinda
incredible.
That would be funny, but no, it's just like, I keep getting ones like, potential spam, I answer, it's all like, oh, this was very important. And then I keep getting calls, I'm like, this is probably spam, answer it, yep, it's spam, didn't label it, but...
Good thing you answer phone calls.
Yeah.
Professor Fellingar is going to or Professor Fiddlebrook, which I should probably just go by his last name. Fellingar. Fiddlebrook. Professor Fiddlebrook will kind of go over and be like, would you mind if we stopped briefly by... Sorry, I don't need a large spot, but maybe we could get some shots of it and check out a little bit of the ruins. A few hours? It's what? How far from the river? It is only a few hours' journey from the river. If we wanted to spend half a day, you could easily at least visit it if you were only making shots. For your documentation. We do not mind the extra time. It is up to all of you, though, and I wanted to bring it to you. Not many people like to visit it. Yuan-ti have rumors about it. There have been scientists that have gone there before. Not many. Its position is still very dangerous. The volcano is nearby. There hasn't been an eruption that has covered over it in some time, but the volcano is always active, and you never know what will happen.
What kind of things are said about this place? You mentioned a curse. Did they ever say kind of curse? Like...
Or why it was cursed?
Well, I believe the old rumors said that long ago, one of the yuan-ti that leaded it, what are they called? A yuan-ti lord went mad with power and turned against their god, brought upon the god's wrath upon the place. Once the wrath was complete, the mad servant slaughtered those that survived the wrath of the god.
Oh.
It is said that the survivors of that place fled to Omu.
Sounds pretty neat to check out.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we haven't done this reckless behavior before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, why not?
Well, I think with the call I got, why don't I end it here? It's only a little early. We'll kind of go out like 10 minutes early after the outros and stuff, just because heading off to Hisari is a very good place to go. Hisari, which I found about when I looked up the Sky and Lizard Mountains. And that'll also give me an idea to, like, prep some Hisari stuff. You know?
Sweet.
The settlement that's not on my map of Chult. But totally it says it's there. On the western edge of the Sky Lizard Mountains. I'm like, okay, great. This place doesn't have everything on it. Oh no, I see where Hisari is now. I totally missed it. It's now farther south than it was on the map. I don't care. I can do that kind of thing.
It moves slightly, you know?
Yeah.
We're in the future.
That's definitely more north.
It's like 50 miles. It's like just travel like 50 miles southwest, and that's where it is, kind of now. It's across that little jungle.
To be fair, stuff moves around. I saw another map that had Port Castlegar, which is like north of Mezro, and the other map I saw it was south of Mezro. So
yeah, unfortunately, most of these maps, it's which ones are actually published and which ones are not. I think the one
also, I think there are probably ones that are published that conflict, almost guaranteed.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I think the map I found is probably like Tomb of Annihilation's map, maybe.
Yeah, that's the one you're looking at. If it's hex grid.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. Does it look pretty much like that?
Yep, it's the hex grid one.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure, like, in older editions, things were different, too. You know, every edition has its own version of what the map is, unfortunately. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah, so we'll have your small adventures in Hisari next time, and you'll then continue your way towards Tele.
You probably every now and then see me like going like this or something up on the side, because I'm like, what does the map say? And I can actually do that, because I have a map.
I'm surprised none of you asked about the Medusa. You could have learned about Zalcor, Nangalore's most famous individual, after it was already in ruins.
I was going to ask about the Medusas and why they were there, but I forgot.
It's just one Medusa that basically took over Nangalore for like a period of time, and was basically the queen of Nangalore for some time. But she was also a human queen that was turned into a Medusa.
I respect the
That's
hustle.
pretty epic.
Mm-hmm. It's
She's not going to let being a Medusa get in the way of her business.
Yep. So, yeah, the fun with yuan-ti will continue. And I got all the names and what their jobs are of all the gnomes. There's Fulzi, she's a producer. Takini, the sound person. Then the males are Zilmer, who's the camera guy. Kaspos, the editor. Uramin, the director. Warnan, the engineering guy. And Rosbar, makeup. Makeup and, appearance.
Mm-hmm. Just gotta say, Vercella is not bothered. I'm not writing them down because Vercella is not bothered to learn anyone's names. Felgar is probably the only one.
But especially now that I've named them, they probably will all die.
Yes.
It does, you might help it along.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're just probably kill them.
I'm not that murderous. I'm just like, if we get trapped in the jungle, maybe we could eat them for sustenance.
Ooh, yeah. Whoa, if
Which is more on the... they exist.
Yeah.
They're technically not going to the same place as you, just the general same area. You're going to, like, the old temple ruins that have been resettled. They're going to an area nearby that's said to, like, probably like a small, like, valley or something that's meant to grow these, like, roses in great amount.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they don't know that we're letting our pet kill everything in the area, it's fine.
Well, if they find out, I'm sure it means they're dead.
Yeah, probably.
And if not, if we manage to get a pet dinosaur and he needs something to eat, I'm sure they are small enough.
We need to get a pet dinosaur.
Anyway.
Steel dinosaur egg.
So, we're gonna head out for now,
Or
just because
dragon egg.
I am not sure of my timing for, taking these out yet. But, yeah, Legacies of Kain gonna get canceled then, I think. Probably. How about this? I'm probably gonna say Legacies of Kain. I will announce my timing, because if I maybe get back by 3, we can have like a 2-hour session. I don't know how long things are gonna go. So I'm gonna leave it on. I'm gonna leave it on a high, like, unknown right now. I'm gonna throw that up on Discord and Twitter. That I gotta take my niece to an appointment. Don't know how long it's gonna take. That'll determine if I can run it. If by 3 I know I'm not gonna be back, I will cancel it. I'm gonna say, or at least close to 3, because I would like at least around a 2-hour session if we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll head out. We should be back next week, I think, unless something comes up with any of your schedules, which I will announce it on Discord and Twitter then, if something comes up. Why don't we do, as I normally do, reverse of how I came in? I like doing that, the counterclockwise reverse of people. I don't know, there's something about that. Go one way, other way. Anyway, we'll start with Jess, if you want to give your outro.
I am Bubblegum Viking, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, and well, I might be back later. We'll see. And
Yeah.
we'll see if Dawn and Lucy can finally fall in love.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Lucy liked you a lot. It's just that, she has already another person in her life. She's got,
She can have 2.
She can. She won't argue with that. She totally would be up with that. She technically has more than one because, it's the entire, like, Brides of Dracula. You haven't met the other ones. They hang out.
Oh no, I
they
think
just
I did. I partied with them.
Oh, you did. I didn't name them, but you partied with them. They just do stuff together all day. They're kind of, like, they're bored. As, like, Cromwell's out doing, like, business stuff and being like, I'm a businessman, not a vampire. Not Vlad the Impaler.
Just a human.
Totally not Vlad the Impaler. Cough, cough. Dracula, he didn't exist. I don't know about this thing where I went to Bram Stoker and had him write my story in a very crazy way. That's what I love about Vampire the Masquerade. It's like, yeah, Dracula's real, and he went to Bram Stoker and convinced him to, like, write this story for him.
Very narcissistic.
Yeah. He really was a dick
funny.
back in the Middle Ages. Anyway, Jinx.
I'm Jinx Jams on Twitch and Twitter. There is a chance that I'll be back around like 7 or 8 stream because it's Mario Day, and last time I drew things, and this time I might draw more things.
Ooh.
So there's that.
And Worm.
I'm Diamond Worm, Twitch and Twitter. I mean, technically YouTube. I just don't. I need to upload things there. I probably will when I start streaming constantly again. I'll probably really try and get that going. But anyway, that's besides the point. Twitch and Twitter mostly. I'll probably start doing Twitch stuff again soon-ish. Yeah.
Cool.
But otherwise, I'll either be here later or here next week, depending.
We'll find out.
Hey.
Yep, and as I said, I'm Ted Snow, Dracovin. I will, if you Discord, Twitter links are down below if you want to know if the Vampire the Masquerade game is going to be later. Again, like, important call where I have to take my niece to an appointment. So I'll find out. I'll let people know. If we're going to play it, Vampire the Masquerade Legacies of Kain will be this afternoon. If not, next week, both shows. If you're looking for more D&D, I do have a D&D game on Thursdays at 8 p.m. EST, which is Children of Wrath, which is a D&D game set in the Magic the Gathering world of Dominaria, the main world from the Unlimited series, the first series of Magic. So that's the world that they've been building the longest. And then Discussing Tabletop should be on Saturday. Oh, so I will announce I'm having a special tonight where I am, at least me and Liz the Bard are going to be talking about our adventures and our experiences at PAX East on the video game side. Because I had some video game experiences and I don't have a good thing of talking about that. So we're going to have a little special talking about that.
Maybe.
Yes. So, that's going to be 8 p.m. tonight. We might ask some more people to join us if we can find some more people that either want to be, like, question askers or, who have been there too. Because we do know a couple other folks that have been there. But anyway, for now, though, enjoy the rest of your day. If you're joining us later, see you later then. If not, see you hopefully next week for more evil. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.